One of the things, if we put it on a continuum, right? The most extreme is just like delete everything, you know, take it all
Yeah.
off, which people aren't going to do. I think that if you move back on the continuum, you could go to like, let me just do like a 24-hour tech cleanse, right? So like, just let me put my phone away. You can even tell people like, I'm just gonna be off my phone for a day or two, and so the people aren't looking for you. So that's further down the continuum. If we want to go to the other end, I mean, I think there's little things we can do, right? So you can set a timer on your phone and say like, all right, I'm going to do this for 15 minutes.
Welcome back to the show. Isn't that funny? Once we hit record, like our moods change. Like we're like, okay, act professional.
Yeah, it's like serious. It's like, this is
Calm
legit.
down. But yeah, it's not serious though. Jamie is a psychologist. And you, I mean, how do you introduce yourself to people? I don't want to do it wrong.
I mean, I just introduced myself as Jamie, but I probably
Right. But like if someone were to say, hey, what do you do? You're a psychologist and you
So
work
I'm a
at.
psychologist. I work at Thomas Jefferson University. I'm the director of the counseling center there.
That's cool.
So I work mostly with grad students, PT being one of them, but also med students, occupational therapy students, pharmacy, nursing, anybody getting their doctorate, a bunch of other programs. And I also do what's called threat assessment. So I talk about threats, especially to the university. That's one of my research interests, and just general topics on collegiate mental health and wellness for individuals.
And you teach though too, right? You teach.
I do. I teach psychiatric residents. I basically teach them therapy techniques and therapy.
So you're doing a lot because you're a resource for people getting their doctorate. So if they're getting their doctorate at Thomas Jefferson University, they can come see you and seek help. Like you're a resource.
Therapy. Yep, for therapy.
I mean,
and then I have helped some students with like dissertations, or I forget what they're called, but like the
like their projects,
like the big paper you have to write,
thesis or whatever.
Thesis. It's called something else. Capstone.
Yeah, all different professions have. We didn't have a thesis in PT school, but we had like a big sort of paper we needed to do.
It's usually so. I've helped out on a nursing one. So do a lot of different things.
I don't know this about you. What was your like? What did you have to do in school? What was your focus? Like, did you have a big fancy paper at the end?
I did. I had a big fancy paper. It was actually on moral reasoning in athletes. So whether athletes have lower moral reasoning than their peers.
Oh, we're not going to talk about this today, but that would be interesting because I feel like you and I are both sports fans. We're both baseball fans.
Yeah. We both played sports growing up too.
I mean, you want to call what I did play?
We were on a field or a court or something like that.
I got the picture of me with the bat on my shoulder.
You got the varsity jacket.
Yeah. What we talked about this was, I remember someone asked me a question years ago, and they were like, if you were in AAA baseball, and like, you know, the margin of going from AAA to the big show is hard, huge. And they're like, would you take steroids? And of course, you're like, absolutely not. And they're like, what if you getting to Major League Baseball was the difference between your family having and having not? And then you're like, oh. And like sometimes that's a moral question. It's like, would I break the rules if it's like, would you steal? Of course not. What if your family was hungry and you had no food? It's like, oh, we'll get into that. Let's not talk about that today. But is that the sort of thing?
Yeah, that's the sort of thing. Yeah.
All right.
Interesting.
We're going to talk something that we're going to talk about a sport that I play right now. All of us, a lot of us probably play, which is doom scrolling. Mm-hmm. This didn't exist 10 years ago.
This really became a thing around the pandemic.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it became a thing really around the pandemic. I think people were doing it prior to the pandemic, but I do think it was something that really got exacerbated like during the time of the pandemic. And then I think it's just kind of between the pandemic and the election cycles and things like that, it's something that's kind of perpetuated kind of moving forward.
Well, that's wild. I mean, I knew it, but now you're highlighting this. It's like we had a pandemic and then we had an election during a pandemic, which it's like stressful, a thing we've never experienced before, a pandemic. Yeah. And then this thing we have experienced, experience every 4 years that can be stressful. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I'm 44 years old. This feels like the most stressful, or the last election felt like the most stressful election ever. And so then we took it out on our swiping fingers because we were just, I mean, why the hell? So now I know what it is. Or how do you describe what it is? Because we haven't fully described it yet.
So basically what it is, it's called doom scrolling. Some people call it doom surfing. And it's basically the idea of like, so we're looking for a set of news, whatever the news may be, right? And we just see something and then we flick to the next thing. And then we flick to the next thing. Sometimes, and we often do this with social media in general, right? So we're watching like a TikTok video or watching a YouTube video and just kind of go to the next thing. But the idea behind doom scrolling is there's usually some sort of like big ambiguous thing that we can't do anything about, right? And we're just looking for an answer to the thing, right? Or we're looking for like preparation of like the bad thing. So if we talk about the beginning of the pandemic and COVID, right? Did anybody know what was going on, how bad it was, going to get? Like, what do you do? How do you control it, right? So it's usually
all those things. No.
It's usually a lot of things that are kind of like outside of our sense of control, and we're just kind of looking for an answer, or we're looking at how to kind of prepare for like the worst case scenario of things.
Right.
And if we think about news in general, right? I mean, if it bleeds, it leads, right? So
Yeah.
the more provocative, the more it can be, the more
right
going to kind of keep us going.
And I'm giving a talk at our national conference soon, and I sort of teach people how to write headlines. Or in this talk, I'm talking to researchers, and I'm like, hey, listen, I want your science to spread. If you have good science, I want it to spread, right? But you can't just write the name of the study on a tweet and think it's going to spread. So I tell people, use an emotion in it. And this power is neither good nor bad. It can be used for bad. It can be used for, clickbait. So with doom scrolling, though, it's different than me going to YouTube and searching out an answer to a question. How do I fix a leak under my sink? That's me, like, I sort of actively, specifically looking for a situation. Where I think doom scrolling is like, I don't even know what I'm looking for, but I'm going to keep doing this. Is this the answer? And it might even be like, I just want to feel better. Like, give me a ha-ha. Give me something to distract me. Like, I feel like that's what doom scrolling also has in it, right? No?
So in the example you gave, right? If you go to YouTube and you say, how do I fix a leaky sink, faucet, whatever, there's a definitive answer on how to do that, right? So like you can go and be like, a plumber can show you, like, you identify the leak, and if you can fix it. You make sure you wrap everything in plumber's tape, because you don't wrap everything in plumber's tape, that thing's going to leak no matter what.
Oh yeah, do that.
no matter how tight you make that.
Did you know that there's a way you're supposed to do it? You're supposed to reverse.
Yeah, reverse thread.
I found that out the hard way, but keep going.
So with the pandemic, because we'll focus mostly on the pandemic, like there was no answer to anything. Right? Because it's so big, it's so ambiguous, and we have no idea. And what were people's biggest fears, right? I'm going to get sick. Someone I care about is going to get sick. I'm going to pass this on to someone. Like, it's going to have some sort of negative consequence. So there's ambiguity in that. There's no answer to that. And in that, we feel very out of control. We feel very anxious, right?
There it comes. Yep.
So what are we going to try and do? We're going to try and find something that reduces our anxiety. Didn't find it. Now I feel worse. So it's just kind of going up and up and up, and we can't have an answer to a question that we really, really, really want an answer for.
I mean, we're figuring it out in real time, and that's I mean, we can get into like distrust in science, which is like a big topic, but it's like I keep looking for these guys on TV, and this guy Fauci keeps saying stuff, and he's not definitive. And meanwhile, science is like, hey, it's a process, not a destination. Like, we're figuring this out at the same time. We have methods that help us get there faster, but I can see why people might be like distrustful. It's like, these guys are supposed to be the experts. Why don't they have the answers? These guys are the experts in getting the answers over time, but people don't like that, myself included. Like, imagine a plumber said that to you. It's like, I don't know, we're figuring this out. Like, you've never seen a faucet before? Why is this happening? It's like, well, this is similar but not the same as a faucet thing. We have a definitive answer for the leaky faucet, not so much for the thing that did not exist last month and that now is spreading through society. I mean, you talk about getting people sick, but also people worried about, like, am I gonna have a job? Like, so this was like sick me, sick family, food, shelter, clothing. I feel like this hit everything on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Oh shoot, dude, your mic went out for some reason. On the bottom of this, you can unmute your guest. Oh, it says their mic is not connected. Nada. Maybe just unplug it and plug it back in. Oh wait, hold on. There we go. Got it.
Yeah. See, this is why is why we record.
I feel like it hit every level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where it was like, hey, food, shelter, clothing, that's the bottom. Self-transcendence, is my career over? Is the thing I just spent 30 years doing obsolete? Like, everything in between. Like, that was deep.
It was just so much uncertainty. And I think that's what doom scrolling is like when anytime, because information is so easy to find nowadays, right?
Yes.
So like when we were kids, right? there was news at 7 o'clock in the morning, 5
Right.
o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 11 o'clock.
That's it.
Now you can get news like on your phone at any time that you want, right? So it's like there's so much more media out there to consume. And if there's
Right.
something that you don't have an answer to and you really want an answer to, you'll just keep looking until you find something that's going to, relieve and calm your anxiety.
And this thing that we doom scroll on, these devices, they're giving you answers to questions you're not even asking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like getting hit with an answer fire hose. It's like I'm entertaining you or educating you 24 hours a day. I heard a teacher did this. You tell me what you think about this with your background. The teacher said, I want all of you, you can keep your phones in class. And this is a high school class. You can keep your phones today. But every time one of you gets a notification, I just want you to walk over to the board and just put just a mark. And there was something like, I mean, he stopped after like 600. There would have been 600 notifications. Started to get comical.
Oh my gosh.
And it was, this is 30 students in an hour. And they're like, that's insane. But 30 in an hour to get to 600, I don't know. We started talking 11 and a half minutes ago. I got 7.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. How many you got?
Are we counting emails?
Sure. That's a ping.
Yeah, I'd say about 10.
In 11 minutes. It's 1 a minute. So 30 times, if you got 1 a minute, if each one of those students got 1 a minute, it's going to show my math skills, right? So that's 30 students
60.
Times 1 a minute times 60. That's 1,800. That's not hard to get to 1,800. So when he said 1,100, I was like, that's ridiculous. And I was like, oh, that's actually not that ridiculous. But that's passive.
Yeah.
That's me with the phone off. With the phone on, it's like unleashing the fire. Here's a question for you. Do you want to boost your clinic revenue by $290 per patient per quarter? Of course you do. That's rhetorical. Physiotech's remote therapeutic monitoring can help you do that. Enhance patient outcomes, ease provider workload, and turbocharge your earnings. Kickstart with RTM at physiotech.ca. That's physiotech.ca. And the thing you interact with the most at your clinic, if you're a therapist, like it or not, is your EMR. MW Therapy's all-in-one outpatient PT EMR gives you seamless integration of patient portals, marketing automations, and billing, all at one unbelievable value. Switching over is a breeze too. Kick the tires, take a test drive at mwtherapy.com. And where is your PT career going? It's not rhetorical, it's literal. Embark on extraordinary patient care adventures with Jackson Therapy Partners. Visit them at jacksontherapy.com. This is perfect for physical therapists eager to make their mark, to do what you want to do, where you want to do it. Discover where your career can take you at jacksontherapy.com.
And like, I don't know about you, but like if I go on to YouTube, right, and I watch a video that I wanted to watch, right? The next 10 videos are going to be something very similar to that, right? And I mean, I don't have Snapchat or Twitter or Facebook or anything like that, but I imagine that's very similar. Like,
it's very similar.
You find one thing, like for some of the work that I do, like I'll have to Google search, stuff on threat assessment, right? And the next things that show up on my news feeds are all attached to that.
Magically. How does that happen?
No, I don't know how that happens, and I don't know, but like there's a part of it that feeds the fire, right? We're just putting accelerant on the fire.
100%. People will joke all the time about like your phone's listening to you, and next thing you know, you get an email or whatever.
Yeah.
As far as the official statement from these companies, that is not how it works. But they will tell you their official statement on how it is work. If Jamie uses the ESPN app a lot and is checking scores and whatever, and then I am in proximity of Jamie, and you're checking scores while we're hanging out, it's going, these two are within proximity and checking scores. This guy might also want baseball scores.
Oh, really?
So it does it more like that. It's not necessarily listening, but it's just as sort of privacy invasive that we checked off because we said yes to the terms of service.
Oh, totally. And we totally read those terms of service.
100%.
All 40 pages.
100%. With my law degree that I got in my spare.
Exactly. With words that I don't understand.
Heretofore with. Yes, I understand all that. But that's an example of now that we've bumped into each other, and now I'm going to get some of this, and this is how things go. And look at the term we use, viral. Mm-hmm. This is a way that things spread.
Yeah.
All right. So doom scrolling. I don't want to make any assumptions here. Is it good for us? Is it bad for us? I mean, I don't.
I think when you put the word doom in front of anything,
Right. Although the video game Doom was awesome.
yeah,
Did you play Doom?
Yeah,
on PC? Oh yeah, Doom was.
I was
cool.
in the 90s.
Duke Nukem. Yes, when you put the word Doom, and it's. Do you think Doom comes from how we feel, or the thing around us, or all of it? It's just about Doom.
I think like when we think of doom in general, it's like end of days,
gloom.
Yeah, doom and gloom.
Right, end days.
So
it's good for us or bad for us? Obviously, it's bad, but like
it's bad. But it's bad for. I mean, it impacts us in a variety of different ways, right? So, like, most likely, it's going to cause anxiety, right? I don't think it's going to. And anxiety can cause a variety of different things, right? We can have, physiological reactions to the stress that anxiety causes, right? So we'll check that one. And if it's truly doom, right, and it moves us to a place of helplessness, right? Like there's nothing I can do about this, or hopelessness, right? Can bring about sadness, could bring about symptoms of depression, could bring about some all that stuff, right? And then if it takes up a lot of space in our mind, like, and it doesn't have to be anything like I'm going to get sick or anything like that. Like if you're just at your home doing this all the time, it could impact your social relationships only because you're not getting out, right? So I think there's a lot of it where if we're just engaging in this behavior solely, like it has the potential to make us stressed. It has the potential to make us anxious. It has the potential to bring us down, and it has the potential to create social isolation and loneliness, which is only going to make us feel even worse about all the rest of that stuff. So yeah, it's not helpful because it's not going to give us the answer that we're looking for, and it's usually going to have a negative reaction.
Does it also play into this? Is why I like Jamie's here. I can say stuff, and then he's like, "Well, actually, I feel like you're the good version. You're like close enough. I'll give it to you.
Yeah,
you're like my ultimate mulligan. You're like close enough.
Yeah,
dude.
you're in the ballpark. You're in the ballpark.
But is this like the flip side of like why we play golf or go on social media? Is like we're looking for that one dopamine hit out of 100 strokes on the golf course, or one haha video out of 100 swipes? Is that like we have an itch in our brain that like you said, we need something, don't know what it is, there is no answer, but we just keep looking, and that's what it could also be called like a doom spiral. But are we looking for the dopamine hit, the itch to the scratch?
We're looking for ease, right? We're looking for an answer to our question.
That's it.
Whatever that is. Like we in general, sometimes people, when we have something that has ambiguity, we have a hard time in holding it ambiguity. Right?
Yeah, our brains don't like that.
Yeah. So we try and fill it with something. You could fill it with positivity, or you can fill it with negativity, right? So if we have ambiguity and we fill it with negativity, that can make us feel anxious, or it could bring us down, right? It's hard to say, and like, I don't know. Like, I don't know is uncomfortable. At least negativity we know.
Oh, shit. Oh, wow. Say that again.
So all of it, or just no?
That last part is like
negativity we know.
No, ambiguity we don't. We choose negativity
because we know like that experience is.
Yeah,
ambiguity is kind of up in the air.
Familiar, even if it's bad.
We have an answer to the question,
right?
Where it's like, ambiguity is like, I got to put it on the shelf, and it might fall back down again. I don't like that. I like everything put in a box with a bow on it.
Huh? Yeah, we'll take the bad news that we're sure of and This is why people like say they hate Nickelback, but they're 20 times platinum. Everybody hates Nickelback, but they listen to it. We like familiarity.
Yeah, and
I on the record don't mind Nickelback. They're pop band rock songs.
I like Nickelback. I'll go on the limb. I find their songs enjoyable.
Bold statements.
There are a couple ones where I'm like, we could have done without this, but
the same song. They wrote this, but so did AC/DC. They wrote one song and then they remixed it 50 different ways, and that's a career. And I can't do that at all.
We can't blame them.
In radio, we did do that, which was if you listen to a radio station, you can listen and you could go to your hometown radio station and listen for 20 minutes. You'll hear a familiar song, then you'll hear one that maybe is a little bit new and is a little bit on the edge, and then the next song, familiar again. Mm-hmm. We did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Because like if I play like 4 songs that you're not familiar with in a row, you're out. And people will tell you that they want new. I want new. I'm tired of this old stuff. They'll tell you they want. And then radio stations back in the 2000s, did you have like a Jack FM near you? That was like a new radio format. It was going to be like, it was after the iPod came out.
Okay.
And the idea was when the iPod came out, you threw like all these songs that now you could get for 99 cents on this one thing, and you could hit shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
So this format came out. This goes back to doom scrolling and familiarity. I promise I'm not on too much of it. But it was like, I'm going to hear Love Shack and then Spice Girls and then MC Hammer and then Pearl Jam. It was like anything goes because we typically like a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Except we typically like the weird thing in a familiar place or a familiar thing in a weird place, but we don't like weird things in weird places. And we get tired of familiar things in familiar places. So that's why if you just played Pearl Jam and the same stuff over and over again, you got to give me a little new in a familiar place, or you got to give me a little familiar in an unfamiliar place.
Yeah, or you got to give people warnings, right? So it's like, on Sundays from 8 to 9, we're going to play all new stuff. So it's like, I'm going to sign up for that.
Correct.
I'm going to sign up
for that. And but that's expectation setting.
Exactly.
But it's funny how people will say, I freaking hate this. It's the same stuff all over and over again. And yet all those jack radio formats, which was essentially everything in the kitchen sink. Those things came, popped, everybody talked about them, everybody loved them. 6 months later, they're all gone. Because people were like, this is too, okay, that was great for like a hot minute. I used to do an hour long at 9 a.m. We would do Smells Like the 90s. And it would be just 90s. And this is, in 2004 when it was 14 years past 1990.
Yeah.
And one or two of those songs on my rock station would be like, I Saw the Sign, Ace of Base. But if I played an hour of that on my rock station, it's like, dude, I get it. It was haha. Yeah. And then when we did that Smells Like the 90s for a year, I turned to my boss and I'm like, I don't mind playing Ace of Base once every 6 months and playing one or two weird songs. Can we just play 45 seconds of it? Like, just get the haha and then move on. And we started doing that. And then eventually we phased it out because we beat that horse to death. But I think it goes to what our brains crave, which is if we don't, this is interesting that how you bring this, which is we would rather negativity than ambiguity. And that makes sense to me. So what do we do about it now? Okay, great. Cool, bro. Cool story, bro. What do I do with this?
So
how do I fix this?
So I think that one of the things, if we put it on a continuum, right? The most extreme is just like delete everything, take it all off, which people aren't going to do. I think that if you move back on the continuum, you could go to like, let me just do like a 24-hour tech cleanse, right? So like, just let me put my phone away. You can even tell people like, I'm just gonna be off my phone for a day or two. And so the people aren't looking for you. So that's further down the continuum. If we want to go to the other end, I mean, I think there's little things we can do, right? So you can set a timer on your phone and say like, all right, I'm going to do this for 15 minutes. And then,
I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah. And then at least then it's a choice, right? So like usually when we're doing these things, like it's just like we move to the next thing, move to the next thing, move to the next thing. And like an hour goes by and you're like, oh my gosh, an hour went by. Where if it's like you set a timer for 15 minutes, now you're making an active choice to continue to do a thing that may or may not be helpful to you.
Yeah.
Fine. But I think that if you put limits on it, that's pretty helpful. Also, one of the things that I've found is that go with like a specific question. Like, what am I looking for the answer for? Read an article. Did I get the answer I was looking for? Yes or no? If I didn't, how do I feel? Do I need to look at another article? What am I looking for from this article? Sort of thing. Or what am I looking for? So there's boundaries around what you're doing. And then once again, it's that mindful piece of like, it's not just I'm going through. It's like, what's the specific answer to the question that I'm looking for? And maybe sometimes there isn't an answer.
That's the thing. I don't think you're on social media enough to realize that us idiots who are on social media, how it actually works, or how it works a majority of the time, is you'll see a video, you'll see a thumbnail or a post, and you'll be like, oh, this looks cool. I want to find out this. And when that's over, it feeds you the next thing, which is like, well, this was similar but not the same, and it's the brain loves novelty. Give me something different. Yeah. So it starts with, because many times I will stop when I do stop. And then when you back out of that stream of flicking, you're back on the first video. And I'll be like, holy crap, I got to all those videos from that one. I don't even remember starting. It is wild how it does that. There are apps that do this. I can't remember the name of it, but it'll put like timers, or it'll give you a notification. We gamify this with health with the Apple Watch, where I have it set where like I want you to stand up for 10 minutes every 60 minutes, and it'll say it. And is it almost like when my watch dings and says time to stand up, that's past Jimmy giving future Jimmy like, hey man, we want to do this more. And the way to do this is, I know you need a little bing every once in a while. And then you sort of say, if I don't do it, I'm sort of, saying screw you to past Jimmy, the version of Jimmy who wanted to be better.
Yeah, it's the timer, right? You just set a timer for yourself. Every hour, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do something. Perfect.
Right.
And but you're looking at the videos before you start the next one.
I know.
What do I want to get out of this? What is my hope for this? And some of it's like, I just want to be entertained. Fine, go be entertained. That's part of
not
what
for
it
2
is.
hours.
But like, be mindful of like, as you start the next thing, because most of them maybe a minute and a half if it's a long one, but most of them 10, 15, 20 seconds. After that 10, 15, do I need 20 more seconds of this?
Yeah.
If you do,
this was the story that my parents told me, how one of my uncles quit smoking back in the day. Is the method was you had to wrap up your packet. You could keep smoking. Week 1, you had to wrap. Did it work 20 to 1? You had to wrap like 20 rubber bands around your pack of cigarettes. And you had to take them all off one by one, and you could smoke a cigarette and you put them back on, and you wanted the next one to do it. And then next week it was 15, then it was 10 rubber bands, then it was 5 rubber bands. And then by the end you were like, what the hell am I doing? But it was, how I looked at that was, it was a visual reminder of like, I can't just reach and then be satiated. I can't get that dopamine hit. I had to do this monotonous activity that while I was doing that, I was asking myself, why the hell am I doing that again? You're doing it because you don't want to be, your past self said, let's not do this much longer. So I feel like, I've done my activity. You tell me what I did. I moved all the social media apps because you have like different screens, right?
Different screens, folders.
I put them all in a folder and it's on the last screen. So I have to actively swipe and swipe and swipe and swipe because I have a million apps all the way on the last one. There's my rubber bands for the cigarette. Yeah. Because this conveniently looks like a pack of cigarettes too. It's kind of shaped the same way. There's a lot of things in there that give me dopamine. It's no nicotine, but it gives it to me. What else would we say about doom scrolling? Did we, I feel like we got everything out. I don't know if I have any questions.
I think that just one of the things, like, also, if you're going to do it, like, make sure it's not like right before bedtime and things like that. Cause you don't want to be, you don't want to carry that over into sleep. Right.
Yeah. Anxiety.
Yeah. So it's just like, especially cause I imagine the things that we doom scroll on are not sunshine and rainbows. Right. We talked about, usually it's things that upset us. So we don't want to bring that into sleep. So I would say if you're going to do it and you set your 15, 20 minutes, half hour to do it, just make sure it's like half hour, 45 minutes before bed, and then do something else.
I don't think the average person would go into this and be like, I'm going to just flick through videos for 45 minutes. I think me saying that out loud sounds insane.
Mm-hmm. It is.
But how meta is this? I'm going to turn this episode into short little videos. So people will be hopefully doom scrolling, come across us and be like, what am I doing with my life? Go take a walk. Maybe I'll make that'll be one of my little things. Stop doom scrolling right now. Put your phone down. What I'm about to say is not great. Pass this. Go outside.
Stop doing the thing that I want you to do really badly because I want you to flick as much on these videos as possible.
It's like when you go to a casino and they're like, stop gambling. Call 1-800-STOP-GAMBLING. It's like they have to say that legally. Yeah. Or when they put the warning label on the pack of cigarettes.
Or
and they
beer.
Or beer. They say that does not do anything. Nobody, but they're like, well, we did it. We did it. Parting shot. What would you? How would you wrap this up? Be prophetic, right? This is your chance for like your mic drop moment about doom scrolling.
Oh, geez. You know what I think? I think we mentioned it earlier, and it seemed pretty profound to you. But the idea of like it's okay to live in uncertainty. We don't have to fill uncertainty with only negativity. We can either hold it as uncertainty. We can see negativity, or we can maybe be positive. Because a lot of the stuff that, especially if we're thinking about ambiguity and uncertainty, it's usually thoughts about the future in general. And we don't have to cloud our future only with negativity. So it seemed like that resonated the most with you.
It did. Some people do it really well. Yeah. I think like some advice that I've had is similar to what you gave, which is like, you can scroll the videos, just set a timer. When something goes sideways, you lose a job. Mm-hmm. Telling someone, don't worry, is the worst advice ever, right? Yeah. Gotta be. Don't worry about it. It's like, well, there's a lot of reasons to worry. The thing that helps me that I remember is I'm allowed to bitch I'm allowed to throw a pity party for 24 hours. And then you have to get your stuff together. So you can have that. And usually by hour 8, you're like, okay, but like allowing myself like 24 hours to like throw a pity party and have a tantrum and be like, that person sucks is like enough. Where it's also like, write the email, just don't send it.
Yeah.
Because the act of writing it is like the exercise and doing it. But I like this idea, and I don't think I had it was we would choose negativity over ambiguity
because it gives us negative news isn't pleasant, right? Criticism is not pleasant, but like the fear of uncertainty,
scary,
much worse.
Because we are so creative.
Mm-hmm.
Like when someone says we have to talk, I don't like that. But if someone says, hey man, I just want to talk real quick because that thing didn't go well. You did a great job, but it didn't land. I'm like, oh, okay, there's certainty there. It's not good. It's negative, right? But I'm certain about it. Oh, okay, got it. You're not fired. Like when you walk in a room with someone and it feels like a job thing,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing you're not fired. Just here's the deal. And all of a sudden that person just goes, shoulders just go, drop. Because you've alleviated the ambiguity. This is a powerful tool, I think.
Yeah.
Because knowing that other people are doing this is a powerful tool.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a lot of what I talk about outside of doom scrolling. It's a lot of what I talk about on a daily basis,
Yeah.
Which we could talk about. We could talk about that forever.
What are we talking about next time you come by? So I'm doing more of this.
Okay.
This is how I get free therapy out of I get free business coaching. I get free therapy because I just talk to smart people and I make it about me because we're all egotistical. You taught me about ego, super ego, and id. We'll talk about it in a different episode. Yeah. It's ego, super ego. I'm doing this where I think I'm going to zoom out and I think I'm going to unniche down. I'm going to zoom out and zoom in at the same time. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make any sense, Jimmy. It does because I'm going to do one in one direction, one in the other. Yeah. I want to zoom out and don't want to talk to physical therapists anymore. I don't want to only talk to physical therapists anymore because I think a lot of the things that I get excited about and it applies to because I don't talk about shoulders and clinical stuff a lot. I don't talk about knees and joints. Yeah. Not on my show. I do everything out. So I want to zoom out. I want to open my scope to other just healthcare providers because there's typically smart people who face similar problems. So I like that. Mm-hmm. Then I want to zoom in and I want to talk about, and I have it on like a dry erase board. I'm like, it's like my vision board. I like psychology. This is where Jamie coming by like once a week. Maybe we should have a mandate once a week. Psychology, just an idea of like, how do people think? It just excites me. Innovation, that's a process, but I like things that are like, sometimes I could, like, there's a new, did you see this? Jif is running an advertising campaign called Save Celery Neglect. If you go to this website, I think it's like savethecelery.com, you can get a free container of peanut butter delivered to you with this app called GoPuff, which is like, DoorDash or Instacart. Yeah. Brilliant because Jif wants to move more peanut butter. So instead of saying peanut butter, this is Chick-fil-A saying with the cow saying eat more chicken. Mm-hmm. It's cute. So I like innovation and ideas. So ideas I feel like is a quadrant. Psychology is people and brains. Innovation is ideas. Marketing and communication is how you put that into action. And then business is how you get paid for it. So to me, this is linear and circular. Yeah. They're all kind of interesting. It's just, I go back to my roots, why I started this show. I want to talk about like stuff that I get excited about with people that are smarter than me so I can feel smarter. And then other people get to listen and then they're smarter and then everybody wins and we just drink a beer and go home. So I'm in the process of figuring out what that looks like because I need to say yes to this. I have to stop doing other things. I have to stop doing different types of episodes or just thinking so small. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about that in the future.
I'm always along for the ride.
We're going to talk about your work with professional sports next time you come on, maybe next Thursday. But we should do it. We should do it. We should do it live next time because it amps it up. And people can ask live questions, which I think would be fun.
All right.
There's a net. Listen, we can always bleep. Do I have a bleep button? Listen, cut that out.
One of my favorite moments of all time is I was listening to you do your last episode on radio.
Oh my God.
The amount of times you had to bleep people out was unbelievable. The entire episode was Jimmy being like, hit the button, hit the dump button.
Dude, the last episode, the last
show you ever
we were
did.
At a bar live.
You must have hit it at least 20 times in an hour.
But I had to make sure the guy in the studio heard it so he'd hit the button to delete the last 30 seconds. You're only supposed to use that. I used that 12 times in my career, and I used it like 7 times that day.
It was crazy.
But I mean, at that point, what are you gonna do? Yeah. Like, what are you gonna do? Put me in video jail? I'm out, bro. Yeah. All right. Jamie Hagenbaugh, appreciate you coming by, man. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Take care.
All right.